Hello everybody, my name's Fran Wickes and I'm the Lay Chaplain at St Mary's Catholic Voluntary Academy in Derby. And this is Word on Wednesday. So the word that I've chosen to share with you today comes from the Old Testament, the book of Daniel. And just to kind of set the scene for you, this is a terrible moment for God's people. They've been taken into captivity in Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar is the king in charge. Not a nice chap, very difficult to deal with. Some people though, some of God's people have managed to work their way into positions of influence, and one of those people is Daniel. And that's because Daniel has a great gift. He can interpret dreams. And King Nebuchadnezzar has very disturbing dreams, and Daniel is the perfect person to interpret them for him. So Daniel has been able to get himself quite a high up place, quite an important place in the government. He's also managed to get three of his friends, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, positions in the Babylonian government. That, of course, though, has led to jealousies with Babylonian people who aren't at all keen on these upstarts taking over their jobs. So this is the situation that we come to at the moment. King Nebuchadnezzar has a different god that he believes in, and he's just had a huge, absolutely huge, very ostentatious gold statue built. And he wants everybody, including the Jewish people, including God's people, to worship his statue. So that's where we're at in the story. So this is a reading from chapter 3 of the book of Daniel. King Nebuchadnezzar had a gold statue made, 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. Then the king gave orders for all his officials to come together. The princes, governors, lieutenant governors, commissioners, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other officials of the provinces. They were to attend the dedication of the statue, which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And when everyone was gathered, a herald announced, "People of all nations, races and languages, you will hear the sound of the trumpets, followed by the playing of oboes, lyres, zithers and harps. And then all the other instruments will join in. As soon as the music starts, you are to bow down and worship the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Anyone who does not bow down and worship will immediately be thrown into the fiery furnace." And so, as soon as they heard the sound of the instruments, the people of all nations, races and languages immediately bowed down and worshipped the gold statue. But some of them noticed that three of the Jewish people were not bowing down. So they said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "Your Majesty live forever. Your Majesty has issued an order that as soon as the music starts, everyone is to bow down and worship the gold statue. But there are some Jews here that you put in charge of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, who are not bowing down. They are disobeying your orders." At that, the king flew into a rage and he ordered the men to be brought before him. "Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, is it true that you refuse to worship my God and to bow down to the gold statue I have set up?" Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego answered, "Your Majesty, we will not try to defend ourselves. If the God whom we serve is able to save us from the fiery furnace and from your power, then he will. But even if he doesn't, Your Majesty, we will never worship your God. We will never bow down to your golden statue." Then Nebuchadnezzar really lost his temper. His face turned red with anger, and he ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. He commanded the strongest men in his army to tie the 3 men up and throw them into the blazing furnace. Now, because the king had given strict orders for the furnace to be made even hotter, the flames even burned up some of the guards who were standing nearby. And Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, still tied up, fell into the heart of the blazing fire. They walked round the fire, praising and calling to God, admitting the faults of the Jewish people and why God had allowed them to be taken into captivity in Babylon. And they sang great praises to God, telling him what a wonderful God he was. When all of a sudden, Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet in amazement. Didn't we tie up 3 men and throw them into the fiery furnace? Yes, we did, Your Majesty. Then why do I see 4 men walking around in the fire? They are not tied up, and they show no sign of being hurt. And the 4th one looks like an angel. So Nebuchadnezzar went up to the door of the fiery furnace and called out, "Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the supreme God, come out!" And they came out at once. All the princes, governors, lieutenant governors and other officials gathered around the men, who hadn't been harmed at all. Their hair was not singed, their clothes were not burned, there wasn't even a smell of smoke on them. The king said, "Praise the God of Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. He sent his angel and rescued these men who serve and trust him. They disobeyed my orders and risked their lives rather than bow down and worship any god except their own. And now I command that if anyone of any nation, race or language speaks disrespectfully of their God, he is to be torn limb from limb and his house to be made a pile of ruins. There is no other God who can rescue like this." And the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego to even higher positions in the province of Babylon. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So then, this story is a very simple story at heart. It's why it's such a popular story for children's Bibles. It's not complicated. It's about 3 young men having the nerve to stand up for what they know to be right. Even though it brings great physical consequences for themselves, they're still prepared to do it. And they do it because they totally trust their God. They know that their God loves them, and they know that it's the right thing to do. And even, as they say to King Nebuchadnezzar, even if the fire does kill them, even if their God doesn't step in and save them, they're still not prepared to go against their God, because they still know that their God is the one true God. Because fundamentally, what's at the core of their belief is that their soul matters more than their body. You know, it's no good saving your body if you lose your soul in the process. The soul is what counts. And I think the message for us from this story is to stop sidestepping our own fiery furnaces. We all know we've got them. We all know that the situations that we should be doing something about, we should have done something about in the past, we've maybe still got the opportunity now. Things we should have said, things we should have done, things we should be fighting for. They are our fiery furnaces. We don't step in, we stay away. It's a bit hot, we don't want to get our fingers burnt. It's easier, it's more comfortable not to step into that furnace, not to take the risk, not to put ourselves on the line, not to put our reputations, our comfort on the line. And this story says, well, no, you do have to, whatever the consequences. If there's something that you know it's right, we know that, yeah, we should be doing that. We have got to step into the fire. We have got to take that risk. We have to stand up for our God and for what's just and right in our world. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but just as the men have the angel of the Lord with them, we know that if it's a righteous cause, if it's the right cause, then our God stands with us. Jesus is beside us, clapping us on, thanking us for actually following and doing what we're called to do. We need to find our own fiery furnaces, stop avoiding them, and step into them. So good luck with that. And I know that's a big message for me as well. I need to step into my fiery furnaces too and actually take those risks that I need to take. So we thank God for biblical heroes such as Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. I think they are great role models, great stories, but great role models as well for us, and they have a lot to teach us. We're going to play out with a fun song by Brooke Benson, which is based on this story. So it basically retells the story of these three men and what they did. So I hope you enjoy the song. So until we meet again, God bless. Take care.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
Now there were three children from the land of Israel.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
They took a little trip to the land of Babylon.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
And old Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
So they took a lot of gold and made him an idol.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
And they told everybody when they hear the music of the cornet. They told everybody when they hear the music of the flute. They said, listen children, when you hear the music of the harp, you gotta bow down and wash up the idol.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
But the children of Israel would not bow down.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
No, we ain't gonna bow to no golden idol.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
They couldn't fool the children with the golden idol.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
So the king cast the children in the fiery furnace.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
And he heat on coal and red hot brimstone, the good book says. Even made it 7 times hotter than it ought to be.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
Even burned up the soldiers that the king had put there.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
But old Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Then the good Lord called an angel, gave him a couple of wings. He said, go down there through the middle of the furnace and begin to cool in the flames. And those children got so happy, they went strutting right through the fire. And just laughing and talking about the power of the gospel.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
Oh, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.